As Director General of CRISAT, he championed and institutionalized an overarching strategy called Inclusive Market-Oriented Development, or IMOD, in which the farmers become active participants for their own welfare. The same strategy is now being advocated by him in pursuit of inclusive agribusiness in the Philippines. Prior to his international stint, he taught with distinction at Benguet State University with the rank of Professor 6 and served as its Vice President for Research and Development in 1985 to 1987. He was the founding director of the Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Agricultural Research, or BAR, in 1987 to 1994. Served as Executive Director of the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Council for Agriculture, Forestry, Natural Resources Research and Development, or yung PICARD, in 1994 to 1998. Secretary of the Department of Agriculture under the President Joseph Estrada, 1998-1999. Under his watch at the DA, the Philippine agriculture achieved a remarkable 9.6 growth, which has never been equaled until today. In 2014, wow po talaga. In 2014, he founded the Inang Lupa Movement, Inc., that advocates and calls action for agricultural modernization and rural industrialization anchored on 4 pillars, namely inclusiveness, science-based, resilient, and market-oriented development. He now writes a regular weekly column called Ways of the Oasis in the Manila Times. From his weekly columns, he published the book entitled The Way Forward, Modernization and Industrialization of the Philippine Agriculture. He also advises Go Negosyo in the areas of agriculture and agripreneurship. And earlier nga, yung sabi ni Mr. Jiggy Manicad, advisor din niya. Presently, he is the country representative of Prasad Seeds Philippines, Inc. Dr. DAR, or Secretary DAR, obtained his Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Education from the Mountain State Agricultural College, MSAC, ngayon ay BSU. In 1973, Master of Science in Agronomy, and 1976, Doctor of Philosophy and Horticulture from the University of the Philippines at the UPLB in 1980. Cognizant of his leadership and laurels, he was awarded 8 doctorate degrees, honoris causa, by various higher educational institutions in the country. Mga kaibigan, colleagues, co-farmers, let us all welcome our Secretary of Agriculture, Dr. William D. Dar.
Masyadong mahaba po yung introduction sa akin ni Cora. Please be seated. Palakpakan natin si Cora po. Let me congratulate the organizers of this PBDA International Farmers Summit. And I understand this is now the 8th summit, and the summit is being done every other year. Can we give a big round of applause to Dr. Danilo Sanchez and the other organizers of this very important summit featuring the livestock and poultry industry. The other leaders of the hog industry are here. Sila Rosendo So, si Chester Tan, si Edwin Chen, si Dr. Mende, and the rest. Can we give them a big round of applause? Palagi po sila kasama doon sa pagplano po kung paano natin makontrol, makontain itong African swine fever. Ganon din ang poultry sector, Attorney Bong Ensyong, Joji San Diego. Palakpakan po natin ang mga leaders ng poultry industry at saka mga veterinaryo na miyembro ng PBDA. Can you please stand because we need you more than ever, all the veterinarians of the country, both public and private. Aba, kukunti po kayo ngayon. Okay. Ang mga farmers, hog raisers, na galing sa Pangasinan, Bulacan at iba't ibang probinsya, please all rise, pakitayo at bibigyan po kayo ng masigabong palakpakan. Salamat po all the participants to this important International Farmers Summit. Friends, ladies, and gentlemen, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Good morning. Kumusta po kayo? Now, sana ang Diyos po ay nandito po palagi sa atin. I was asking myself, bakit po Diyos, nung pag-umpisa ko, nung Agosto 5, ay parang ang daming bumagsak dito sa mundo na problema ng sektor ng agrikultura. Sana tulungan na po ninyo ang itong bansang minamahal namin para maka-move forward na rin kami at talagang i-focus po natin ang pagyaman na ng mga farmers at fishers. Yun po ang gusto natin na mangyari, pero hindi tayo susuko sa mga problema na dumating na dapat natin bigyan ng focus and attention para sa ganun ay they will not impact into the very productivity levels that we have to have para ma-ensure naman ang food security sa ating bansa. Now, nakikinig ako intently doon sa projections, the scenarios built up by Dr. Mende and group. You know, those are based on science and or models of science in terms of, scenario building. And this early, I would like to commend the group from the hog industry again, and from our side, the government, I'd like also to recognize the big efforts of the 3 men who are here with us, who are leading in the, management of the livestock and poultry industry, and who are deeply engaged in working with all of you in this management of these events like the African swine fever. Let me start by introducing the new Assistant Secretary for Livestock, Dr. William Medrano. Ito ay true and true professional livestock expert. So, hindi pseudo professional ito. Doktor siya, PhD siya sa livestock, naging commissioner siya sa Commission on Higher Education at professor siya sa Isabela State University. So, very solid professional who understands the very problems besetting the livestock industry, the poultry industry. Now, true and true, the man who has been there before and now, siya yung dating nandyan na for how many years with the Bureau of Animal Industry, helping to appreciate the epidemiology of this virus at continuously helping us understand and managed, can I present to you Dr. Ronnie Domingo, OIC Director of the Bureau of Animal Industry. So, before and now, yun ang aking introduction sa kanya. So, there is continuity. The facts are there. We continuously to learn lessons from other countries. And he is the chief veterinarian vis-a-vis OIE. So the reporting that we do continuously with OIE is through Dr. Ronnie Domingo. Now, we have a new person helping the National Meat Inspection Service. Ang latest account in terms of his appointment as the new executive director ay nasa table na raw ng ating mahal na Pangulo at he is has been there with the livestock industry, has been connected with the a project with the Food and Agriculture Organization, and when that opportunity arose, that because the NMIS executive director was promoted as undersecretary, I have nominated Dr. Raildrin Morales. So he can do the battle with his weight. So the data have been presented by Dr. Mende in regard to this major issue on African swine fever. So where are we today? Just to again mention that the Department of Agriculture, upon my assumption, that week of August 5, I had the opportunity to meet with the National Hog Raisers Association, including that of the poultry industry leaders, and invited them from then to be a part of the task force on ASF. So, hindi natin masabi na hindi involved ang industry leaders dito sa pagplano at pag-mitigate ng African swine fever. If there is one administration that is, open and will continue to open that mechanism of partnership, because you are the leaders, and government is just there to catalyze the various industries, seeing to it that the policy environment will be supportive to the development and growth of the sector. So, that participatory engagement and the consultation process that we continue to enhance will always be there. Para every step of the way, we have to put in place the best of quarantine measures, biosecurity measures that would really now contain and control such virus. So today, we are now we have now depopulated almost 1.7% of total hog inventory, 12.7 million hog inventory that we have in the country. And with the projections here as high as 62%, this is so scary. So with that, scenario that have been built out from this low now of 1.7 to other scenarios, 10, 20, 30, it's such a very scary development because it has impact into the 416 billion hog industry and the supporting industry, And in general, it will have devastating consequences in regard to the prices of meat and or other commodities that will be the very source of our protein requirements. So the message this early is really to continue to be united as one team to really every step of the way again harness the lessons of those countries that have had this issue of infection of African swine fever, because it is in learning from such experiences we can elevate, step up the biosecurity measures that we have today. Now, one thing to highlight before this audience is that the President has now issued Administrative Order number 12, issued last February 5, directing all the local chief executives, all the local government units all over the country to be guided and follow the Department of Agriculture issued Administrative Circular number 12, highlighting the National Zoning and Movement Plan on African swine fever management. So that's such a very formidable directive, and because it's not only in the management, containment, and control of the African swine fever that has to be properly handled, but even the trade of hogs or pork products that have to be also be part of this movement plan that have been fully supported by our President. So last Monday, you must have learned that all the chief executives were brought to this building, SMX, to really not only appreciate this very problem that we have in the agriculture sector, but more importantly also against the N coronavirus that's plaguing a good number of countries in the world, including that now starting here in the Philippines. So it's such a complex environment that we are in today, but the President said we can handle all these big problems confronting us today. That's such a very strong message that our President is giving to all of us. We now need to harness the brains, the ideas that you have from the veterinary sector, because have we not yet included those things that are necessary in terms of this step-up biosecurity measures in the management, containment, and control of the African swine fever. So yesterday, as a result of this fresh order of the President, the leadership of the department, we brought all the regional executive directors of DA to a leveling up so that there is a good appreciation of this National Zoning and Movement Plan. So Undersecretary Ariel Kayanan, with the help of the officers of BAI led by Ronnie and Rildrin, with Asek Medrano, met with the regional executive directors in Clark purposely for a leveling of a good appreciation and internalization of the National Zoning and Movement Plan. Of course, yung map that the color-coded map, which is a key principle in the zoning plan will be adjusted accordingly as infection occurs or outbreaks occur. So it's not a static map. So that must be understood by all of us because we issued last quarter this zoning plan. So Reldrin and Rooney will have to adjust accordingly based on now the outbreaks reported coming from our regional field offices. And as I've said, the guidelines or principles and guidelines or the biosecurity measures that are indicated in such a zoning plan and the movement plan are very valid, except that the map has to be updated accordingly every now and then based on the outbreaks. Okay, so that must be clear. Kasi kanina umaga, mayroon ng isang reporter nagtatanong, bakit sir yung sa zoning plan ay hindi pa nabago yung map kasi green pa rin ang Mindanao. Of course, I said I have already presented the updated map last Monday and the task force on CM, the Crisis Management Task Force against ASF will be there to regularly update such a map. Now, I would like to support further the scenario setting that is now started and that will continue to be enhanced. And I am instructing our men here, actually about 10 days ago, where we were in the field, no, even in the office, that we agreed now to work with you in terms of the appreciating the potential impacts of such a big problem like ASF so that we can prepare this early the recovery and rehabilitation plan or alternative plans that we can have so that the meat or the pork or pork products arising from the hog industry will be substituted or complemented from other sources like that of poultry, like that of rabbit and other, short gestating or short, like poultry in 1 month, you have now the product out there using the tunnel vent technology. In rabbit, the same, about two months. I was visited by the group, the rabbit organization of Bulacan, and I said we will continue to support you because we understand how critical they can be also as part of the contingency plan that we have to now have vis-a-vis the potential shortage of pork that will be there. So from time to time, we need to update these foresight studies that we are doing and inform the public early enough para hindi naman mabigla. We will not hide anything. But good thing, Dr. Mende, you should also tell our policymakers from time to time this scenario analysis that you are now doing, of course, in partnership with us, para makita nila yung severity of this incursion of African swine fever in our country. Okay? So, we will not rest. We will continue to enhance our proactive measures, of course, always working with the private sector. Now, na-mention na ni Rosendo, yung approval ng 2 billion budget for the first border facilities. Dito muna, mauna dito sa Manila International Container Port. And Dr. Ronnie Domingo is on top, and of course with the participation of the other subsectors like fishery, plant industry, of course the meat products, para yung first border facility will be an agriculture quarantine facility in these important seaports. Another development, we will also rehabilitate Nabotas Fish Port, and Nabotas Fish Port, once properly modernized, will not only handle, fish, but eventually, because we can now better do, say, proper inspection in a modern setting with all the facilities there, it will now be the entry point for all imported items. And hoping by doing that, we will curb significantly smuggling as is happening today. So, what are the key things we need to really guard against? Smuggling is number one. Out of the many intercepted items, these are misdeclared items. It came out that there are pork dumplings coming from ASF infected countries. So talagang yun ang major source of the virus. On top of that, yung mga travelers coming from those countries, ASF-affected countries, bring food, and the food waste are converted into swill feeds, and this is continuing the issue again of spreading the virus. That's the case for Mindanao. Swill feeding because of bringing pork or pork products. So the food waste are now used by the backyard hog raisers. So we were hoping to really guard Visayas and Mindanao, including that of Mimarupa. But this issue of ASF has now become a people issue. What do I mean by people issue? Hog traders that are infected, whose pigs are infected, are hiding their pigs, and this is being taken advantage by hog traders themselves, buying it half the price and not following the protocol of slaughtering these infected animals in the slaughterhouses. So they slaughter it in the respective homes and selling this pork and pork products in other areas. And that's how it Pangasinan incursion happened. That's how Benguet incursion happened. That's how Isabela incursion happened, because of the trading of the infected animals in these areas. So, hindi na yung virus ang problema, pinaka-problema. Ang pinaka-problema na ngayon ay yung nagtitinda ng baboy or karne ng baboy. So, we are calling upon, again, all the local chief executives. They know who are the traders in the respective areas. They know where they are buying these pigs. So, it is enhancing our monitoring and surveillance and checking on the trading activities of these hog traders that will substantially and significantly reduce the spread of such a virus. So yun po ang panawagan natin. Taking this platform, I am now calling again the local chief executives to do their share as they are the lead responsible in implementing the biosecurity measures properly implemented by the hog traders, be it the backyard hog raisers and the commercial hog raisers. And I commend the full participation of the commercial hog raisers in really helping the government put up all elevated biosecurity measures. And it's such a good corporate social responsibility for commercial hog raisers to help those backyard hog raisers around your facilities. Because if you don't help them improve their biosecurity measures, it will easily be affecting you in many ways. So this is one request I am giving the commercial hog raisers to also do much more, helping the backyard hog raisers around your facilities so that the disease will be managed properly, that they be controlled right then and there. Now, do you still have some more time, or are you now tired listening? Are you still ready for another 5 minutes? Okay. Akala ko natutulog na kayo. Okay, when I say ani, please say kita. Ani! Kita! Kita! Aba, hindi ko narinig. Let's repeat. Ani! Kita! Hani kita. Okay. So, your Department of Agriculture will always be here partnering with all of you in this effort of really controlling the African swine fever virus. Now, I would like to maybe give this to the task force, both DA and private sector. There was, in a meeting with the hog commercial leaders, sabi nila, yung 1710 protocol, can we review whether it is, within 1 kilometer, we need to depopulate everything. The data would indicate that only 13% are the sick pigs. The rest, say 87%, are healthy pigs. Now, this is thrown to the veterinarians. Yun ba, 1 kilometer radius? Wala bang experience ng ibang bansa na pwede nila kinonstrict, say, into a half-kilometer quarantine protocol so that only those within the half-kilometer protocol will be depopulated? So pag-aralan po na ninyo para hindi tayo masyadong tamaan in terms of now the pork supply that we potentially will have as a problem. So I am giving that responsibility to the joint crisis management team, public and private sector, to study this possibility of reducing the 1 kilometer to a half-kilometer protocol so that we will, be in sync with the sustaining of the pork supply needed by the populace. Now, the other thing I'd like to mention before all of you, the veterinarians, for one, who are here, and your chapters in all over the country. This is the time to be part of, the movement to eradicate African swine fever. We will, welcome your participation in your respective areas, districts, municipalities, provinces. If you can help join forces with the government, with the local government units in, enhancing monitoring and surveillance, that activity is key, even in inventorying the pig population in the various municipalities, plus informing, properly educating much more the backyard hog raisers on what to do, because that's one thing sure, if they are properly informed, that they will be a part of the solution. So volunteers, I would now challenge the veterinarians, the private sector veterinarians, to come forward, be a part of that team to help local government units do the monitoring and surveillance and informing, educating the backyard hog raisers. Lastly, I would like this body today, if you can form a more proactive movement on the control of African swine fever. Let's do it. Yung talagang it's a whole nation movement, and this is led by you who are in business, who have also the knowledge, the veterinarians. So I am calling upon you to lead, put up a movement on the control of African swine fever. Marami pong salamat.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, Sir William DAR. At this point now, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to proceed to the open forum. May we now call on stage our moderator from the Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food Incorporated. Please welcome Mr. Salvador Salacu. A round of applause.
Morning. May I call on the panelists as I announce your name? Representing the National Federation of Hog Farmers Incorporated, Mr. Chester Tan. Representing the Philippine Egg Board Association, Attorney Erwin Ambal. On stage, sir, on stage. Representing the Philippine Association of Feed Millers Incorporated, PAFMI, Mr. Terence Uigonco. The President of the Pork Producers Federation of the Philippines, ProPork, a Director of the Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food, Architect Edwin Chen. Representing again the Philippine Egg Board Association and a chairman, former chairman of the United Broiler Raisers Association, UBRA, Mr. Joji San Diego Jr. From the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry and National Director for Agriculture and the President of the Philippine Food Exporters Incorporated, Mr. Roberto Bobby Amores. He is likewise a Vice President of the Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food, Incorporated. And last but not the least, the President of the United Broiler Raisers Association, the Secretary of the Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food, Attorney Elias Bong Insyong. May I invite Secretary William DAR to join the panelists up front as they react to your speech earlier. Mr. Rosendo So of SINAG, please join the panelists. Thank you. Okay, gentlemen panelists, we are on schedule for this morning. I will try to moderate your passions and your temper. Okay. I will allow you to communicate with the Secretary your most critical concern for your respective sectors. Okay? First at bat, may I call on the head of the National Federation of Hog Farmers Incorporated, Mr. Chester Tan. Yes.
Good morning. We'd just like to let all our livestock sector know, especially the swine sector, that a while ago, our experts in veterinarian, Dr. Eugene Mende, have shown us what will happen if in case we already projected around 50 to 60%. But of course, if we can contain and control, this 50 to 60% projection will not happen. As our good secretary have said a while ago, we are on our, I think, 1 to 2%. So maybe if we can contain and control, maybe we can only reach 5%, 10%. That is the projection only. So take note, baka po naman kasi ang maisulat natin is yan na po ang mangyayari sa ating industriya, lalo na sa swine industry. So again, we will repeat, projection lang po yun, forecast and projection. So we will try na to minimize the outbreak and the affected areas, maybe less than 10% or 5%. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, if you wish to respond to that.
Yeah, I think these are all scenario building, and it all depends now on how we can really put all our united efforts in place. Otherwise, as I've said before, it has now become a people issue, hindi na virus issue. Yung nagbebenta na ang problema. Kasi yung virus mismo, pag mayroon ng presence of the virus, pwede nang patayin agad eh. Hindi it's easily controlled. But the hog traders, yung mga smugglers are still the big problems of the industry. Yun po dapat ang bigyan natin ng how do we solve these big issues. Smuggling, of course, nandyan na yung joint efforts ng DA and its agencies in partnership with Department of Finance and Bureau of Customs. Palagi kami dialogue yan. Marami pa rin nalulusutan. Marami pang lumulusot. So that's a continuing problem. How I wish yung mga smugglers na yan ay may puso na being nationalistic. This is the time to also help government. Huwag na muna yung greed. Greed is now the major issue. So again, calling on all of you to really contain that to that level. 2-3% okay na sana. Huwag na palakihin pa. So the movement that I am calling for is timely, and I am requesting the PBDA to lead in that movement.
Thank you, sir. May I now call on Attorney Erwin Ambal of the Philippine Egg Board Association for a question.
Question. Yes. Good morning, Secretary. The layer industry is fortunate enough to be spared with this agony. Unfortunately, also a lot of the pig industry, swine industry wants to go to the layer industry right now. So, but what we learned, Secretary, from our experiences with the avian flu, one of the most important things is just compensation. Actually, at one point in time, the private sector had to shell out money for just compensation because of limitations from the government sector. And it was very important because the farmer will not volunteer their farm to be called out if they wouldn't be compensated. So we'd like to follow up on the mechanism for this. While there are a lot of willing big companies to put the bill for compensation, we should have a more reliable and what do you call this? A body which could respond in time because these are emergency measures. We have the system. The regional offices of the DA are very equipped and very responsible. They know what to do, but at the end of the day, it's a question of money. And the compensation has to be just compensation. So they had to approximate the cost of the bird for the layer industry and, if possible, another seed money for them to tide over. That's our request from the ladies. Another one, Secretary, this may be off tangent, but right now, this is something we have in common with the livestock industry, is the instability or the supply of the corn. I mean, even with the swine flu, swine fever, and the growth, we see some problems with the very erratic prices of the yellow corn, which is 50% of the feed cost or the feed composition. It hovers around sometimes from 14 pesos to as much as 19 pesos. We got hit 2 years ago, I think 2018, when a lot of layer farmers decided to stop production because they couldn't afford the price of the corn. So we have to look for alternatives, whether it be wheat, or we have to at sometimes allow importation, but at specific restricted times, given mostly to end users if possible. So we could justify or rationalize this. So, and also we'd like to request the Secretary that since you're also intensifying the border system, there's also an imminent and also ever-existing threat of HPAI. It's a seasonal thing. It's not gonna go away. It's hitting right now in Europe and in China also. We heard that it's acting up again. So we'd like to hitch a ride also with this, whatever the swine industry is doing. Let's do it across the board, especially with the poultry meat. I think that's if ever it's going to come in, it's the poultry meat and not so much the eggs, because there's not so much importation of eggs coming in. It's usually the poultry meat. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Okay, government bureaucracy. We will, I came from government, I was in private sector for 4 years. Maraming diferensya, okay, in terms of the auditing and accounting rules. But hoping this time around, we have learned our lesson last year. Yung quick response fund ay nadagdagan na, say from 1 billion to 1.5 billion. At hindi lang pang ASF, but all the other calamities that we are having. So, at ito yung ASEC Madrano, can you check yung provisions ng GAA kung pwede na natin gamitin yung quick response fund so that yung indemnification, yung na-called out na pigs ay agad-agad. Ah, ako gusto kong bayaran agad-agad while calling. I have no issue there. But it's the rules and regulations in the disbursement of funds. Otherwise, ang nangyari last year, we don't have much, so we have to request the President. Yung pundo ay galing sa President's Contingency Fund. So yun po. We'll do it much better this time. Yung sa mais, I think this is one good thing na with the newer technologies, the use of hybrids, our levels of production is much, much higher, even almost 100% sufficiency. Now, the general policy always is let's improve our levels of productivity, including income of the farmers, and whatever we cannot produce here will be sourced from outside. So ganun po palagi, binabalance it natin. But more in terms of improving the profitability of all of these commodities. Now, if I understand about poultry, what was again your suggestion? Yes, of course, we can understand now some of those in piggery now doing business in poultry. Even us, meanwhile, at this point in time, much more the backyard hog raisers, because we are giving them now recovery support, rehab support. Actually, we have spent almost $500 million last year for rehab. But we gave the decision to these hog raisers what livelihood or enterprise they would like to pursue. And many of them wanted to go to poultry and goat raising and the like. So nasa decision po ng hog raisers yan, backyard mas lalo. Now, I understand some of the commercial hog raisers are also, taking time to decide whether to continue. So all this have to be factored in our analysis, Dr. Mende and Rildrin, para makita natin the balance in terms of the food, the protein source, and see to it that the substitute protein source will be there in place. Now, maybe I will now announce here, and we have started consulting with the leaders of both the hog industry and the poultry industry. We are, because of tightness of some of the supplies of food commodities that we have this season, we are planning to put up and implement SRPs on a few commodities.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Let's now proceed to the feed sector. May I invite Mr. Terence Uigonco to shoot your critical question.
Good morning. Naunahan ako ng tanong. So, anyway, majority of those pigs that were culled was coming from the direct customers of the commercial feeds. So, some pig raisers, small farmers that were affected hasn't been paid, so they are also following up. While there are apprehension in continuing to raise backyard pigs, some of them are waiting for these funds to be available to them so that they can restart and populate again. Another thing is on the corn, we also have a pending request from DA to import at a lesser tariff corn to augment the shortage of corn. I think that was last year. It was actually denied. So if the prices of raw materials are quite high, it would affect the pricing on the cost of feeds. To make it also more sustainable, we would like to reiterate or revisit the feeds law that is pending in Congress. The law that that the feeds is still using is, I think, 1956, and there's a pending bill in Congress that is to put more regulatory power on BAI and also help make our industry to be more relevant, especially now in the food safety aspect. So we want that to be passed into law to be able to make the feeds sector more sustainable. Even before the ASF hit the country, the feeds industry has been very supportive of the BAI directive in terms of quarantine of feed ingredient. And the feed industry is not using any banned ingredients. That was part of the circular that was made, especially on pork meals that are coming from the infected countries. We are also doing our part through our people in the ground in terms of educating small farmers not to do swill feeding, because we believe that this is one major item that needs to be really stopped for us to be able to also stop the spread of ASF. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Secretary, the focus would be on tariffs and the feeds law. Lower tariffs for corn.
Okay, we will study the recommendation on lower tariffs of corn. So, nandito ang mga officials natin. Yung feeds law, I think we will go along your lines based anchored on food safety. We have already stopped the importation, of feeds of which components are coming from infected ASF countries. And we are again reiterating today, those who are in the feeds business, to please refrain from buying your component ingredients from infected ASF countries.
Thank you, sir. May I invite Mr. Edwin Chen, President of ProPort, for your critical question.
Thank you, Doy. Mr. Secretary, representing Pork Producers Federation, ProPort. No? Secretary, ano ba yung economic model natin tungkol doon sa kasi in the past administration, pagka may shortage ang isang sector tulad sa pork, no, ang ginagawa ng gobyerno ay importation ang sagot. Okay, they will allow parang duty-free importation ng isang commodity at ibabaha ang merkado to the detriment ng local producer. Okay, in this case, no, sa pork industry natin, may mga forecast tayo na magkakaroon ng kunting kahigpitan sa supply. Ano sa tingin nyo yung response natin para matulungan yung local producers natin makabangon sa ubod ng laking lugi in the past 7 months? No? Tuloy-tuloy yung lugi namin. No? Kahit wala kaming tama, nalulugi kami dahil sa babang-baba ng farm gate price at saka ang nangyayari sa merkado natin, sa retail, sobrang taas naman ang tinda ng mga tindera natin. Ibig sabihin, kawawang-kawa ang mga producer. Pero may sektor doon na malaki yung kinikita. Sinasamantala ang consumer natin to the effect na pag nakita nila yung baboy na pork na sa lamesa sa merkado, parang walang gana rin sila bumili dahil mahal. So may gap doon. May profiteering nangyayari. So kanina you mentioned SRP, right? So baka siguro solusyon yan. Pangalawa, would you allow the pork producers to increase our farm gate price to a level na makakabawi din kami at makakabangon? At ang respond ng government natin ba ay tawagan ng mga meat importer at patriplehin ang importation nila? Ganun ba yung nakikita mong senaryo o hindi mo papayagan yan at hayaan mo ang producer makarecoup, no? Dahil ang cost of production ng baboy na yan ay tumaas dahil hindi kami makakilos. May mga border restriction na pakihigpit. Yung mga illegal nakakalusot dahil yung checkpoint naging cash point. Yung mga walang permit, nagkakaroon ng permit somewhere. Hindi kasalanan ng mga national officials natin yon. Siguro doon sa level ng mga checkpoint dahil kasi sa checkpoint, LGU, barangay tanod lang yung nakapwesto roon. So, Secretary, ano bang nakikita mong senaryo sa economic model na dapat natin gawin?
Okay po, that's a very important question. And this is the policy direction. I would like to again reiterate. The first option is to improve the level of production or productivity for local. And that's where government comes in, whatever support in terms of the nurturing environment so that industries can grow and improve their levels of productivity. And if we have to have more credit facilities for commercial hog raisers, that will be made available at much lower interest rates. There are already credit facilities in the land bank using the funds of DA, ACPC, to where you can avail. And we'll see to it that, as I've said, the interest rate will be very much lower than before. This time around, mayroon ng mga credit facilities as low as 5% or even 2% to some extent. So mayroon po yun if at this point in time when we shall have already contained and controlled, then the recovery and rehab plan will be there to be again jointly developed by government and the private sector, always giving first priority for increasing production or levels of productivity and increasing income of the raisers, both commercial and the backyard. Then the second, after pushing all things possible, any gap will have to be sourced from the outside. So yun palagi ang sinasabi ko. Okay, now, the SRP thing will be done, and of course, it is a temporary response as supply tightens, but under normal circumstances, they have to be lifted because supply will be very consistent and higher level. Now, your suggestion to study the farm gate price, we will work that out again in tandem with you. We have to have an open dialogue, but that thing will have to be properly studied because today, even at this level of farm gate price, who is taking advantage now? It's mostly the traders. That's managing the supply, the tightness of the supply, And so the prices, retail prices in the open market is so high. So nalulugi talaga yung producers na sinasamantala ngayon ng traders both at the expense of the producers and the consuming public. So have I handled everything? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Joji Sandiego, you have the floor.
Napag-usapan na po natin yung situation ngayon. Ang mga industry players po, both for poultry and hog, na-anticipate na po itong magiging tightness at increased price of pork in the near future. Alam po naman yan ng industry sa poultry at sa hog. So, kami po, very calibrated yung gagawin namin move kung kami man mag-i-increase ng production at kung saang market kami pupunta. Unfortunately for us, in-anticipate po din yan ng mga new players who comes into the business big time. On top of that, mas na-anticipate po yan ng mga importers. So, ang nangyayari, kamukha po ngayon, binibigay ng broiler sector yung karagdagang pangangailangan sa karne dahil yung iba umiiwas sa baboy, pero hindi ko kumikita yung domestic producers. Ang kumikita po yung mga importers kasi yun po ang dumadaan. Just like right now, break even lang po kami if not losing sa presyo ngayon ng broiler. So, 3 weeks ago, Secretary, tinawagan ako ng isang kakilala namin ni Bong na importer. Nagpiit lang ako, kumunti ko na mamura sa telepono, sir, kasi nagtatanong sa akin tungkol sa layer. Sabi niya, G, magandang yata layer, kasi wala imported. Hindi ko lang masabi sa kanya Doon guguluhin mo pa kami sa negosyo, papatayin mo kami doon sa negosyo namin na baboy at saka manok, ng broiler, dahil nag-i-import ka, pagkatapos papasok ka sa layer dahil walang imported ang katwiran mo sa akin. So, totoo po naman yun na nakakaano. Kaya, mahirap din pong balansehin kasi nagiging, nung wala pa naman po kayo na nakapag-meeting kami kay Secretary Mon Lopez, na nung tumaas sa inflation, ang pinapaliwanag na namin sa kanyang mabuti na hindi naman solusyon yung importation para ma-arrest yung inflation. Sabi ko, very classic example po, nung may bird flu sa Pampanga, 10 piso lang po ang presyo ng manok yung live, pero 120 pa rin sa palengke. So, hindi ho importation ang solusyon kasi nga, yung mga importers po, sumusunod lang sila sa presyo sa palengke, kaya ang laki ng kita. So, regarding din sa Secretary do sa SRP naman, mahirap po kasing i-operationalize yan. Ginawa na yan ng mga nakaraan. Kaya lang masyado pong malikot ang presyo, lalo na ng broiler. Kung magkakaroon, sa tingin ko lang po, kung para maiayos natin yan, alisin natin yung masyadong fluctuation sa presyo, sa production cost. At yan po, sa tingin ko, masusolusyonan. Kung gusto nyo mag-SRP, we should have a SRP all the way down. Makontrol din po yung presyo ng sisiw, presyo ng mais, para stable po yung production cost namin, hindi masyadong maglilikot po yung presyo sa retail. Palagay ko po mas madaling ma-implement pagka ganon.
Yeah, I think we are willing to sit down with these ideas. Nandito ang tatlong officials natin to sit down with you. Again, it's the same pleading as that of Edwin, di ba? So, how do we balance things? Farm gate prices should be up so that mas kikita ang mga producers and importation sa akin is always a last resort. So, bibigyan ko first priority ang pag-angat ng productivity ng local industry. Rest assured, yun ang policy natin. Now, when it is really time to import, we will now follow a very objective and transparent process. And now I have directed the officials concerned to learn from the National Treasury on a process called auction system ng pagbibigay ng import clearances sa mga items na ini-import ngayon. So that is now under study, and hoping that within 1 month more ay in place na itong auction system. Ang una na I have directed will be sugar. SRA is now designing. They have now learned the technique from the National Treasurer's Office, and it will be followed by the other commodities. Yung rice ay naandyan na under RTL. It's working, but there are also challenges in managing, particularly during the on the arrival of imports, so that it does not happen during main harvest. So let's consult, let's dialogue, and we are more open than before.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We're down to last 5 minutes. May I call on Mr. Roberto Amores of PCCI.
Okay. Wala naman akong katanungan at kahilingan kay Secretary DAR. Kababanggit niya lang po yung tungkol sa asukal. Ako po yung isa ho yung nag-advocate tungkol sa bagay na yan. Now, itong mga suliranin na pinag-uusapan dito po natin still boils down to the roadmap na kailangan natin matunghayan. Food Secure Philippines. Ano po ibig sabihin ng Food Secure Philippines? We will have to produce whatever we can produce, be productive, competitive, at kung ano man yung kakulangan at gap na sinasabi po ng Secretary, i-importin po natin in order for us to curb inflation. Ngayon, yung ating surplus at yung ating ibang mga pinoproduce, i-export po natin so we're able to generate economic value at employment sa ating mga kababayan. Kami mo sa private sector, I belong to the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, nagkaroon po, naipatupad po namin ng isang covenant between the Department of Agriculture and the DTI noong 45th Philippine Business Conference noong 2019 October para magkaroon ng koordinasyon at tulungan itong dalawang ahensyang ito simply for the purpose, say, of if you are to talk of curbing smuggling or misdeclaration, ito pong dalawang ahensyang ito, meron po silang tinatawag na attaches. Commercial attache and agriculture attache na nakapost sa different parts of the region sa buong mundo na pwedeng bigyan ng trabaho, i-monitor yung mga lumalabas na exports na going to the Philippines as far as declaring the goods itself and the value. Now, sa hanay naman ng Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, kami po ay member ng Customs Consultative Group between PCCI at saka yung Bureau of Customs. We have industry experts, kaya nga dun sa sinasabing misdeclaration ng value, makatutulong na kami dito. We will just coordinate with the Department of Agriculture regarding providing industry experts na makakatulong sa valuation ng agricultural commodities. This is already a work in progress that PCCA has been doing. And we are able to save. We are able to generate additional revenues for government because of this counter-check sa valuation. Okay? Now, doon po naman sa increasing exports, we are promoting exports in order to address also one of the important points under the 8th paradigm of the thinking in agriculture ni Secretary Dan. So this is what the private sector is doing as part of the program of agriculture and in support of our colleagues here with their concerns. The PCCI has regional chapters and local chapters nationwide that will now be coordinating with the LGUs and the regional offices of the Department of Agriculture with the concerns na pinag-uusapan po dito. Yan po ang aming magiging kontribusyon sa ating mga suliranin kung paano tayo magkakaroon ng konting adjustment dito sa ating mga problema. Salamat po.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, you don't have to respond to that. Thank you, Mr. Amores,
Thank you for speaking for and behalf agriculture.
for highlighting PCCI's contribution to the growth and development of Philippine agriculture. Finally, of course, Mr. Rosendo So had his chance earlier. I call on UBRA President Attorney Bong Inchong.
Magandang umaga, Mr. Secretary. Earlier you used the phrase nurturing environment. I would like to recognize as a historic decision by the President to finance the quarantine facilities at the international ports. It is very important. Georgie and I, we have been, Doy Salakop is a witness, we have been advocating this since the time Georgie's hair was black and I had more hair. So we appreciate it very much. However, Mr. Secretary, these facilities, I understand it's worth 2 billion. Am I correct, sir? It's around that time.
About 400 million per facility. So 5 areas, 2 billion.
Yes, sir. You know, sir, the people at the border, these are very creative people. These facilities can become white elephants if we do not have a data system. And that data system, if I may underscore, Mr. Secretary, it has a legal mandate under the ACMA law, sections 41 to 42. We are supposed to have, the ACMA law was 1997. It is a stain on the credibility of the DA and the government that you have yet to implement a law for agriculture that was passed in 1997. Something as critical as data. A data system that will address unfair competition, unfair prices, smuggling. And when you speak of smuggling, it's not only about money, it's about diseases also. Remember the Peking duck and the pork that was interdicted by the City of Manila. There was Peking duck there, yung apartment, sir, na ginawang cold storage. We really need that data system. It's provided under the ACMA law. I am hoping and I am optimistic that under your leadership, you will be able to consolidate, because we need institutional solutions to our problems. Meaning you have these quarantine facilities and complemented, and it is a necessary complement, the data system, sir. And also, sir, in terms of competitiveness, in terms of incomes for all farmers, whether it's in livestock or in poultry or in rice, in other high-value crops, we really need the data system to inform us on what to produce, in what quantity, when to produce. These are basic things which are available in other countries for the agricultural sectors of other countries. We need this. For example, sir, right now people are thinking, yun na nga naging problema namin, sir, ang dami nag-isip, may ASF ang baboy. Hindi na malulugi ang broiler. Naglipatan, sir, sa broiler. Lugi. Akala nila because there's ASF for in-hog, it's a guarantee already that the broiler industry will not lose money anymore. Big mistake. Pagdating ng January, lugi na lahat, nag-iiyakan na. Which is a common thing normally for the broiler industry, January, February. But we really need the ability, the sector needs the ability or the capacity to decide rationally based on data. And right now, because there's again this decimation of the population of our hog industry, there's this idea of and mababa ang presyo ng broiler. There's this idea of shifting to layers naman. Ang tatamaan naman in a few months yung layer industry. irrational, sir eh. We really need your help. And also, we really need you to fight for us at the level of the cabinet. Because, sir, with all due respect to your colleagues, ang mindset ng government economists, import liberalization. Basta masabi lang may ginawa, mag-i-import. They do not check afterwards, bumababa yung presyo sa level ng consumer. Hindi eh. Yan ang experience namin for the last 2 decades ni Joji San Diego. Import ng import for the benefit supposedly of the consumer. Hindi naman nababaho sa palengke. Kaya we really need you to fight for us to reason with our economic managers, especially NEDA, import liberalization. Sir, si Trump hindi na nakikinig sa WTO eh. Tayo nagkakandara pa. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
sige, Bong. Alam ninyo si Bong, simula nung nagkita kami 6 months ago, ito nga, data management system and all about import liberalization. Bong, I would like to report to the public that there is now an application that will systematize data management of all imports already. Nandyan na, ongoing na ang discussion in terms of putting it in place dyan sa Bureau of Customs. So pumayag na ang liderato ng Bureau of Customs to have this data management system. So kulitin mo ako next time around, but we are now there implementing that. You are speaking to a converted. I mean, I came from the research sector. I know the importance of data. I know the importance of longitudinal data that you are going to use in times of crisis like this. So, ako kasama mo dyan. Import liberalization. That's why we are looking at the various commodity industries already, whether we have a chance to further enhance productivity, competitiveness, and profitability of these commodity industries. Otherwise, yung sa walang chance to improve, then those are the areas. Let me point you a good number of commodity industries. Doon sa onion, diversing outside of livestock. Sa onions, we have a chance to improve. Why? Because we are now producing almost 85-90% of our requirement. So, talagang buhusan natin how we can improve productivity, competitiveness, and profitability. Compare it to garlic. Where are we in garlic? We only produce 8 to 10% of our requirement. So, are we competitive? No. So if there is one to be liberalized, garlic is one. So mga ganun na pag-analyze ng commodity industry, we have to see to it na mayroon tayo yung data na naman para gamitin dito sa policy making. So ganun po, informed decision making must be the way of doing things at the Department of Agriculture. And again, your partnership will always be key kasi tulong-tulong ito, hindi kaya ng gobyerno alone, but seeing to it that we do things together in partnership. So rest assured na mga sistema na ganon na kung ay nasa almost level na mataas na tayo, huwag na natin bitawan yung industry na yan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. At this point, I have instructions from Danny and the PVDA team. We open the floor to the congregation. To approach the microphone, I'm giving you 3 slots to address a query to the Secretary or to the industry champions that are with the Secretary. So 3 questions, please. May I request na state your name, your organization affiliation or anong munisipyo o probinsya, and then shoot your question. Sino po? Yes, gentleman in black. Please approach the microphone po.
Good morning. express tagyak po ng One Cagayan Valley Agriculture Cooperative based in Tuguegarao City. No? Then yung cooperative namin is region-wide. Then we formed the organization para lang po mapagkaisa namin ang aming mga kababayan, mga maliliit na mga magsasaka. Then ang question po, sir, kasi marami sa ating mga kababayan ang labis po na apektado ng presyuhan ng mais. So paano po natin sila ma-encourage na magtanim para magkaroon po tayo ng sustainable na supply ng ating mga agricultural products sa ating sa paligid natin. Kung sila naman ay tinatamad na magtanim ng kanilang mga mais sa sobrang taas naman ang presyo ng mga gamit sa agrikultura. So, doon lang po siguro, dahil pinaka-basic yan na pangangailangan ng ating mga farmers. Then, marami kasi yung mga farmer natin, especially sa region 2, na dahil sa pagkalugi nila sa mga nagdaang mga calamity, imbes na sila yung magtatanim na ng sapat para sa kanilang pamilya, hindi na sila nagtatanim. Dahil imbes na kikita sila, ay mas lalo po silang nalulugi sa ating sekretary po.
Opo, okay, corn prices is the issue. And again, there are 3 aspects you have to improve. Your productivity has to be high, and using newer technologies is key. Like, alam na natin na ang pag-unlad ng corn industry sa Pilipinas ay gawa sa paggamit ng hybrid technology. Okay? That's a proven fact. So increasing productivity continues to be a good enhancing measure para sa ganon ay mas malaki rin ang kita mo at the end of the day. Now, how can you increase your income? It's again a function of reducing your cost of production. Okay, kagaya sa rice din, you need to reduce your cost of production in many ways. Ano ang pamamaraan? Mechanization or collectivization. You know, your cooperative as a collective, when you go for mechanization, ay mas more efficient ka. You are able to reduce the production. If we go by example sa rice, when you mechanize, you reduce 3 pesos yung cost of production mo. Okay? So, another one is continuously use appropriate technology to really reduce to your production, at the same time increase your competitiveness. Number 3, you should have credit available. I mean, capital. Kung umutang ka palagi, talagang vicious circle yan. Karamihan, yun ang problema natin sa Philippine agriculture, nakabaon sa utang ang mga farmers natin, be it rice, corn, and even livestock, yung backyard hog raisers. Pag nakabaon ka sa utang, didiktahan ka na ngayon yung integrator, yung trader na nagpautang sa'yo. And that's why today there are credit windows that can give you even 0 interest or 2% interest. Where can you get this credit support? Nandyan na. So, we will continue to improve the availability of these credit facilities para mawala na kayo dun sa control ng mga traders and integrators. Because we want the collective now, the cooperative, to do business, agribusiness. Otherwise, kung nasa production lang kayo, you will never grow. And you can never leverage, you can never compete. And so at the end of the day, we want to increase your profits by way of cost reducing your inputs or cost of production. Now, if in the long run we do all of this, then you have more leverage talking now with those in the processing, in the feed business. Hindi na kayo dadaan sa traders.
Thank you. Any more farmer questions? Yung taga Pangasinan, sino ba yung nakilala ko kanina? Mr. Manalo, where are you? Umuwi na? Any more farmer questions? Sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Francisco Pinera, President of the PBMA, Philippine Veterinary Medical Association. This is not a query. Kung po'y nagagalak sa party boards ni Secretary DAR. Ang party boards po, whether we like it or not, the veterinarians is at the center of all of this. And kahit ano po, we veterinarians, kahit ayaw nila, I will commit that we will help in the control and spread whatever disease. Maraming salamat.
Thank you for that commitment. Thank you for that spirit. That's what we need. Yes, the Filipino can.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very reassuring. Final question. Yes, sir. With the eyeglasses on your forehead. Pakilala lang po for documentation purposes.
Mr. Juanito Espanyol from Mahandan, Pangasinan. You guys, farmer, at the same time, Federation President ng isang Agricultural Association. Ang tanong ko po ay tungkol para sa ating mahal na Secretary. Yung mga concerns namin sa ARCE, una po sa certified seeds. Totoo po na na-address na po yung problema, pero ang parang kakulangan lang ng ARCE sa seeds ay dapat timely. Kasi po dumating yung mga seeds, late na, nakatanim na yung mga farmers. So, nangyari, hindi na nagamit ng mga farmers. Pangalawa, tinatanong ng aming mga magsasaka, yung mga na-release na sa media, yung about 5K na para tulong sa mga farmers. It's now more than 3 months, sir, at wala pa silang natatanggap. Pero sa media, matagal na receive ng mga farmers. Isa pa po, yung sa farm mechanization, medyo matagal nang nakapirma ng kontrata. Yung ibang mga farmer associations namin, nakapirma na sila ng MUA since November pa, at until now, wala pa pong release. Yung sa NFP pa, sir, medyo ang tawag sa Pangasinan o farmers allowed. Yun lang po, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Tama. Ang bibigat, ha? Yes, certified seeds. Alam ninyo, while I accept with all those observations you have said, na late dumating. Kasi the universe of the RCEP is big, and there was not enough certified seeds to be bought. Kulang ang production ng certified seeds. Kasama mo nga yan, yung isang seed producer dyan na kinontrata ng PhilRice para dun sa pag-promote ng certified seeds. So, kulang ang certified seeds na available na bibilhin ng Philippine Rice Research Institute. Now, we should do much better next cycle. Okay? So, dapat mas maaga, meaning anticipated na dapat, at least even 1 year ahead, na-implementa ang RCEP nung Oktubre, Nobyembre. So, there are some problems along the way. So, please bear na next time around ay mas magampanan na yung pagbili at saka pag-distribute ng Philippine Rice Research Institute ng rice certified seeds na inbred. Now, sa 5,000, actually, doon namin inuna sa Pangasinan yung rollout ng Rice Farmers Financial Assistance na pagbibigay ng ayuda ng gobyerno ng 5,000 per rice farmer na nagsasaka ng half a hectare hanggat 2 hectares. Basta rehistrado ka sa RSBSA. Kung hindi ka rehistrado, hindi ka makakuha. Simple as that. So, kung hindi mo pa nakuha, ay dapat nabigay na sa Pangasinan by now. But I just came from Land Bank before coming here. Marami pang hindi na ibigay na ayuda para sa rice farmers out of the 3 billion na galing sa national savings last year pa. We started rolling this out December 23 in Pangasinan and Nueva Ecija. Kung nakarehistro ka at mayroon kang sinasaka na 0.5 hectare or hanggat 2 hectares, ay kasama ka makakuha ng 5,000. Okay? Now, farm mechanization. True, wala pang release kasi PhilMec, ito naman yung isang ahensya ng DA na naatasan sa batas, Rice Tarification Law, under the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund, RCEP, na sila 5 billion yung hawak nila kada taon na mamahagi doon sa mga 57 provinces na kasama dito sa RCEP. Hindi pa nila natapos yung pag-procure ng makinarya. So, tinatapos po. So, bilis-bilisan yun aking utos sa kanila.
Thank you. Okay.
NFA, no farmers allowed. Okay. Okay, let's bear the facts, understand the facts. NFA has only 7 billion pesos a year to procure palay. If you translate that in terms of production, total production na mabili, 2.8% of total rice production in the country. Yun lang po ang mabibili ng budget ng NFA. However, with a rollover scheme, kayo alam ninyo yung mga nagnenegosyo, yung rollover, paikot-ikutin yung pera na 7 billion, naging may multiplier effect na another 7 billion yung nabili po nila. So, ang nabili po in the history ng NFA ay naging doble. Hindi na lang 2.8% of total production, ay naging 5.6% of total production. Hindi nila kaya lahat bilhin. Pero ang priority po, under dito sa Sure Aid na binigay po namin, at saka under dito sa RFFA, yung Unconditional Cash Assistance, ay yung mga farmers na nayon. Sila po ay mandato ang NFA na bibilhin yung nakakuha ng Sure Aid Assistance at saka dito rin sa Rice Farmers Financial Assistance. Kasama po kayo na priority na bibilhin ng palay ninyo ng NFA.
Thank you, sir. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, diyan po nagwawakas ang ating interaction dito po sa ating venue. But rest assured, the Secretariat of the Farmers Summit and the PVDA have taken notes of your concerns together with the concerns of the industry champions. Naka-record po yan at inutusan na po ni Secretary William DAR ang kanyang senior officials. My former colleagues in the department, Asek Medrano, Asek Reyes, Director Morales, Director Ronnie Domingo. You know what to do if follow through yan ng PVDA at ng Farmers Summit. And just to tell you a story, a very short one, about the candidness and transparency of Secretary William DAR. On his second day after taking his oath as the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, hulaan nyo kung sino yung tinawag niya kagad for an honest-to-goodness, heart-to-heart talk with agriculture. ito pong mga industry champions na kaharap ninyo. And to that, we're very grateful, Mr. Secretary DAR. Thank you for being very open and transparent in the discussions this morning. A big hand to Secretary William DAR.